So as you may know, if you've followed the podcast for a while, or you know me, then you know we're fans of Christmas in our house. And you say, well, a lot of people are. Well, some people aren't. And I get a little pushback from that, and that's okay. I've made no bones about it. I'll listen to Christmas music all year long. Now, I don't listen to the frosty stuff. I mean, every once in a while it sneaks its way in there. But I like the old guys. I like the Dean Martin. I like Bing Crosby, Glenn Miller, Burl Ives. I like the old guys. That's my stuff. And I can listen to that stuff all year long. Mowing the grass, at the beach, wherever. That's where I'm at. But we are pro Christmas in our house in that we have just some things that we do. One thing is we put a lot of trees up. We got one in each kid's room. That's kind of their own deal. They do their own ornaments, whatever. And then we got one in front, which is kind of like the family tree, right? Someone gives your family an ornament or whatever. We got a ton of lights and stuff on there. That's the one where I think we're fading out of this now. Where I would lift a kid up and they'd put the star. They rotated every year. They used to fight over like whose turn it was or discuss. No more discussion. They don't want it. So, and then we have a tree where my wife takes a picture of the kids every year, like at their program or at church or something where they're all dressed pretty nice most of the time. And then she gets those in every year. It's like it'll be the same frame. So every year it's a different frame, but it's the same for every kid. And so she wants to put all those on the front so you can see it. So I have like one of my weighted vests underneath the Christmas tree skirt to keep that from tipping forward because it'll just fall over because all the weight's on the front because naturally that's where all the ornaments are. And we had another one over here, but I think it's in my wife's classroom. We ended up with it after like a staff Christmas party one year, and we're like, well, we can't just throw it away. What are we gonna? It was part of the decoration. So I think that one is. I think it's at the school. It's definitely not here, wherever it's at. So it was probably about, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 years ago, when I just felt a little bothered that I wasn't being a very good participant in my kids' Christmas. I've said before, for them growing up, I regret that I wasn't more hands-on. I was there. I was the monetary provider and not that great. I was the physical protector. Maybe a little bit better there. I don't know. But I just wasn't like that good dad that I would charge guys to be now looking back. And so, as they got older, and we had more like of our own stuff, our own traditions, our own whatevers we're doing, which, man, is so good. It just hit me probably 4 or 5 years ago that, my wife's done all the Christmas shopping. She's had all the conversations. I'll ask them like, hey, what do you want? Whatever. And we get our kids stuff. We don't, I don't think we go over the top. Perhaps we do. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Everybody's home's different. I had some friends years ago that told their kids, Jesus got 3 gifts. That's what you're getting. So that was their thing. Hey, man, whatever you do, whatever your thing is, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But for our kids, I just realized, my wife had done all this work and she would go get the stuff and then she would wrap the stuff. Oh, it seems like Christmas Eve night. And my part was I would carry it all downstairs, right? Like that was my man part of this. And I don't know what it was, but I'm going to chalk it up to the Holy Spirit. Just convicted me one year that, you really haven't done anything. And I don't know what it was. I think I was in my office and I got out 4 pieces of paper and I began to write each one of them a letter. This is completely out of my comfort zone. I mean, yeah, I write things, or I write sermons, or I've wrote blog posts, or I'll make some notes for a podcast or something. But I'm just talking about out of my comfort zone as far as just communicating a feeling. I just don't do it. I'm just not good at it. Like I tell them I love them. I try to encourage them. We have a family group text. We got some stuff going there. But as far as just being very intentional, I just not good at it. I saw these guys through the years, especially when my girls were younger, and it was like daddy-daughter date night, and they take a selfie at Dairy Queen or whatever. Well, one, we didn't have any money to do that, and two, I don't know if they want to go hang out with old dad because I wasn't a lot of fun to hang out with to start with. I did a daddy-daughter dance once. We tried to hang out more at the cookies and stuff than anywhere else. I've done something. That's just way out of my comfort zone. And I'm not making any excuses. I'm just telling you that 4 or 5 years ago, I just sat down. I got out, what would that be? 8.5, 11-inch sheet of paper, the standard copy paper, whatever it is. And then I grabbed, you can see it here on the old YouTube, I'm holding it up, these envelopes. Well, not these exact, because I had to get these off Amazon, but these envelopes, which are 4.5 by 9.5. So they're kind of that longer, almost like when you get a bill in the mail, size. So I just got out, I took out 4 sheets of paper out of the storage room, whatever, because I wanted something that looked a little like off-white. That's what I went with. I don't know why. I went off-white, and then I found 4 white envelopes. And what I did is I just sat down and I began to write each one of them a letter. Now, I wanted to make it age specific. So if you go back 4 or 5 years ago, I had like a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So I started to think about that particular individual as, I sat down to write this letter. Naturally, with the 5-year-old, I'm not going full cursive because that ain't going to work. So with him, I just wrote, big letters. I tried to write like short words, whatever. And here's the heart of it. And this is why I'm recording this as a podcast. The heart of it is I want them to know I see you, right? Like in the midst of life, in the midst of busyness, it can be easy for any of us to feel like we're not being seen or we're not being recognized. I wanted them to know individually, I see you, okay? The second thing I wanted them to know, which should be obvious, is I love you. I wanted them to know I love you. And again, I'm not great at that. I don't think I think they know that. I tell them that daily. I pray for them daily. I pray with them a lot of days. We did today before they left for school. I'm just not good at that. I admire guys who are very, very good at that. They're strong in that area. I wanted them to know I'm recognizing something I'm seeing in your life that is admirable, that I'm proud of. Maybe it's that you're artistic. Maybe it's that you care for other people. Maybe it's the way that your work ethic or your responsibility or whatever. I wanted them to know Dad sees something in me that is distinct. It's not to say that, your siblings don't have that or whatever. But as I'm writing to them and I want them to know I see them, I love them, I'm proud of them, and I admire this in you. Okay, so I wanted to lay that foundation. Now, let me say this. This letter is like half a page handwritten. I know you guys can write circles around me. This is not a podcast to brag on me. This is a podcast, and I thought about this before I recorded it. This is a podcast that I hope somebody out there that's listening, maybe you're wired like me and saying, Jarrett, I wasn't great at that stuff either. Maybe you'll try it. Maybe you'll try it, and when Christmas is over, you'll say, I did it. I didn't die. They didn't laugh at me. They received it well, and I'm glad I did it. That's it. Maybe some of you guys are already doing this. Maybe you're not. But we have done this in Tribe, and in this session of Tribe, we're doing it right now. And I will tell you, there are men in Tribe that we've done this around the December time. Not every time, but a number of times. There's some guys that will really balk at this. They'll push back on it. And listen, I'm not saying you have to write a letter at Christmas time. I'm not saying the letter is a testament to how much you love your wife or kids. But I will say this. When I look at the landscape of my life across the entire year, let's say. So when I look at the body of work for me as a husband and a father for the entire year, they could benefit from something nice from Dad. Okay? It's never a bad idea to make a relational investment. And for me, that's probably the area where I have needed to cultivate the most, is to make that relational investment. So again, I write like the idea that I see you, that I'm proud of you, you're unique. I'm seeing something in you that is admirable. But one of the things I try to do is write a verse in there that I think is fitting to them or their season of life. I remember a season when one of my daughters would be very creative in some things, and so I wanted to write something that lined up with that. I've seen times where they need a little bit more encouragement in this area, or there's something that I just think that their self-esteem is down in this aspect. So I want to write something to them, scripture based, that just it's just a reminder of God's promise of who He is and that He is always in control on His throne, and we don't walk this life alone with Him. So that's what it is. It's not, again, if I had a sheet of paper and I'm handwriting it, it's probably a half a sheet of paper. This year I'm going to go with those, what do you call them, like lawyer notebooks, legal pads. I'm going to try to do that because I like the lines, and I've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 years without lines, and mine get a little downhill, if you will. So I'm trying to avoid that. I don't know what using lines is going to do. I'm going to need to put some more thought into it. But I want them to know at the very end of that. So again, I just went through all those things at the very end of that. The 4 of them get a line similar to this. I am very thankful that I get to be your dad. I mean, of all the people on the planet, I don't write this, but all the people on the planet, I'm thankful those are my kids. I really am. I guess when I was growing up, I didn't think about having kids. We had a period of time. My wife and I we didn't know, we were trying, we didn't know if we could have kids. And then we had a couple. And then we had a 6-year drought. And then we had a son. And so, and then with every one of these, it's very unique. And every one of these, I can be like, well, the Lord was certainly in that situation. He carried us in that. So to tell them, I'm thankful for that. And I tell that to my wife as well. You ever meet some ladies and you say, that would not have worked, me and her, right? I meet people all the time and think, that would not have worked. You know what? I'm so thankful that the Lord has allowed me to be married to my wife for 22 years at this point, and I'm praying for 22 more. But I want you to think big picture, okay? I want you to think bigger than Christmas morning, or whatever your thing is. You don't have to do it Christmas morning. I should say this. I do it Christmas morning after kind of the chaos is over. Paper's in the trash bag. That's my job. I'm the shake down the paper in do we keep this box or not kind of guy. And then, when it's all kind of coming back down a minute, I say, hey, I want to give this to you guys. And then they all go somewhere on their own. I've never expected that. The first year, I didn't even want to make eye contact. But I'm like, I want to give this to you guys. And I did that originally, remember, just out of the realization, like, you didn't really participate in this much. I'm not going to the grocery store to shop. I'm not going to, if I can avoid it, I'm not doing it. If I can get it on Amazon or Fanatics.com or whatever these sites are that they want stuff, I'll do that if I don't have to go anywhere. But I realize, man, you should be a little more invested in this. This is an opportunity. And I don't think it's just Christmas Day, but I mean, we're right on the cusp of this. For us on Christmas Day, it is a moment for at least a little bit of time, an hour or two. It's just the 5 of us. I will forever be grateful for that because it took a long time to get to that place. Just us. Now, chaos ensues afterwards, but for that little bit, that's what we do. But I want you to just think bigger picture for a second, okay? I was talking to a good friend of mine about this yesterday, and I said, in a lot of ways, you would think that you work and you try to provide and whatever because you want your family to have some things. You want them to have nice things. But also there is the idea, and I think it is wise if you can do this, there is the idea that it would be good to leave them some things after you're gone, right? Like there are people who get an inheritance. They get X number of dollars and, they bought the car, they started the business, or they, sold the house, kept the money. I don't know. I don't know how all that works, but people that get an inheritance and they get the money, and you say, "Boy, I'd love to be able to leave my kids some things, some money, some stuff." And my kids are going to get some stuff. Like I have intentionally bought some things so that I can give that to them later on. They don't know this, but I can say, "Hey, these are yours. I bought them and I've had them, or I saved it, or whatever." And I want you to have this. Maybe girls give it to their husband or sell it, pawn it, whatever, okay? But I want to be intentional with that. But I want you to think back 100, 200 years. We had a country where people were coming over here just trying to start a life. And they'd try to get some land, and they would try to have a shelter. They would try to have a house. They would try to grow some food. They would try to make a living. And if they needed, they would, go to the trading post, and they'd try to get this for that. I'm going to kill this many animals, and I'm going to take the hide, and then I can get that in exchange for that. Or maybe they needed some equipment, or they needed a dish, or a skillet, or whatever. And you would trade these things, and you were I don't say bartering, but you were trying to build a life that you were proud of, but that people that came behind you would benefit from. I think if we're not careful as men in 2023, we can very easily become grown-up children, where it really does become about our consumption and our control of the conditions. So I shared with a friend of mine these envelopes that I got in my hand. I realized yesterday I didn't have them. I checked the church where I normally grab a few envelopes. They're gone. The jig is up. Maybe I moved them. I don't know, but they're gone. Wasn't like I steal them. They're there, and there's a bunch of them. We never use them, so I was like, well, I'll take these. And so I checked the storage closet where we got all these extra supplies. No envelopes. I said, shoot, what am I going to do? So I went on Amazon, and I found some envelopes. I didn't need 500. I needed like 4. Well, they don't sell 4 packs of these type of envelopes. They sell mass quantity. So I checked the box. I'd like it today or tomorrow. And for $2.99, that's not bad. $2.99, I could have it guaranteed by today or tomorrow. Now, I ordered that yesterday afternoon. By the time I got home from my kids' Christmas program last night at probably 7:30 or 8, they were on my porch. I paid an extra $3, and somebody grabbed some envelopes from somewhere and got them to my porch. That's pretty easy. My point is, if we're not careful, we will carve out as grown men a very easy life. We will carve out a life that might cost us monetary. I'm willing to hand out cash. I'm willing to send you some money. I'm willing, hey, no skin off my back. But as far as doing something that we have to cultivate, and we'll balk at that. We don't live as an agrarian society anymore. There are people who do that, and I'm thankful for them. I'm an A&F guy. America needs farmers. I'm for pro farmers everywhere, all the places. But boy, they are a dying breed, aren't they? And we've lost that discipline of cultivation. And if we're not careful, we'll $2.99 our life all day long. I'll pay a few extra bucks to someone to bring me food. I'll pay a few extra bucks for someone to do this. I'll pay a few extra bucks for that. Next thing you know, what are we really leaving the people in our life that matter to us? Now, I know there's guys that listen that are not married. There's guys that listen that do not have kids, and they're, all those things. But there's got to be somebody, at least one person in your life that when you look back on the last 11 months, no question about it, they have made a relational investment in you. Now, I don't know if this is the practice to go write a letter to your boss and how much I don't know if that's going to work, okay? But I do think there's got to be somebody in your life somewhere that you say, she was very kind to me for the last several months. He always looked out for us, or, whatever it is. I think there's people that you could write something to. You don't have to use the format that I use, but maybe something to give it to them. And I'll go back to this, that when I give this to my wife and my children, and again, to this day, I don't go, where are you going? No, they all kind of go their own way and read it on their own. They come back and most of the time say, thanks, Dad. Thanks, son, whatever. Yeah, you got it. I'm changing the Bing Crosby vinyl record, whatever. But I do know they keep it. Like, I don't go looking in the room for it, but I've heard that they say they keep it. And I appreciate that. And I will do that forever. As long as the Lord allows me to take up space on this planet, I'll do that forever. Will I write that to my son-in-laws and daughter-in-law, whatever, someday? Yeah, probably. If the Lord gives me 20 grandkids, boy, that'd be something. I'll start writing in June if I need to. But it's just something that I can do. Again, I'm probably not going to go out shopping. I'm going to pick the wrong size. I'm not, that's not my skill set. I don't mind funding the operation, but I'm just not good at it. But I want to have something that I say, at least in that moment, on that point of the calendar, old Dad was intentional with that. I think there's a lot of things in life that I look back and say, boy, you did not get that right at all. There's a lot of things that I say, boy, I wish I could change that. Or, boy, you dropped the ball on that one. This is one thing that I at least feel like, you know what, I think I'm getting it right. They're not asking for it. They're not sitting around going, well, Dad, we're not at the point yet where they're where it becomes a joke or they're mocking me or whatever. You know how it is. You get traditions. Oh, they always, Hey, there's worse things to get mocked for than handing out a letter and say, hey, I just want you to have this. Again, for some, it may just take a little bit of courage. If one guy listens to this and says, I tried it, I think it's worth it. This is something I do in my house. I could have kept this to myself. I've shared it again with the guys in Tribe. We've done it as a challenge. We're watching this week as guys talk about, who they're writing it to and what this looks like for them. It will be out of a comfort zone. But imagine that. Imagine if the men in Tribe all did it and their wives are like, what? Or their nieces or nephews or whoever you decide to give it to. Imagine. And then say, you know what, I'm going to do it next year as well. And this is going to become part of who we are, because I think we have moved away from that discipline of cultivation. And what I'm trying to do is cultivate that relationship. And every year, hopefully they can look back and maybe see some things that Dad noticed and verses that he used. And maybe I used the same verse. Who knows? But nevertheless, it's a relational investment that I can make in them. And let me end with this. I do put a little cash in there. Never a bad idea to get a little bit of money, is it? I've never turned down an envelope with money that I can think of. And so I do that as well, and they can go use that, whatever they want to do. It's theirs. But again, it's a way that I can say, it's not like, hey, Dad's trying to get off cheap. He's just writing letters to everybody in the house. I'll give you some money. But I love them. I'm thankful for them. I'm proud of them. And I'm thankful that I get to have them in my life. Regardless of your relationship status, regardless of whether you have children or not, whatever, there's going to be people in your life that you'll say, I'm incredibly grateful that individual or those people or that family, you can even write it to a family, is in our life. Again, it could be a niece, it could be a nephew, it could be whomever. I don't know. But there will be people that you'll say, I'm thankful they're in my life. And let me say this, you might be the only one that does it. And I think that's okay. Wouldn't it be great if they got into their life and say, I remember when, and it's your name that comes up, you used to write me a letter or give me a letter every Christmas and tell me A, B, and C. I'll never forget it. Wouldn't that be something? We can give our kids a lot of things. We can have a lot of experiences. Boy, to pause for a moment and just say, this is what I see. And I'm thankful that I get to be in your life. Amen. So men, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, sharing. Above all that, I want to encourage you, man, just consider doing it. At least one. At least one. Amen. Thanks for listening, and let's keep pursuing biblical manliness.